What is up, everyone? It is me, Dan, here today with a Arrow Season 6 prediction video, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that is definitely going to be one of the big talking points going into the back half of Arrow Season 6, and that is of course related to the Black Siren redemption arc that could potentially happen this season. So this is something that I've really been interested in pretty much ever since Black Siren showed up on Arrow in Season 5. I believe it was the mid-season premiere. Yes, it was. Just checking on my laptop right now. But yeah, this is a storyline that I've been very interested by, mainly because I feel like with what they've been doing with Black Siren's character as this very complicated villain of sorts, I really think that this storyline was very much had potential from the start. And with Arrow Season 6, it definitely seems like they are heading in a direction where that is going to be one of the main focal points, and I cannot wait to see hopefully how they implement this story. So today I'm just going to be talking about the storyline itself, how it could play out, how Black Siren could be redeemed, and more importantly, when do I think that she will actually turn against the villain team up that she's currently in at the moment. So let's just go ahead and remind ourselves of the moments in Black Siren's episodes where she's appeared in on Arrow, where she's had the slight possibility of being redeemed. So the first one is of course going all the way back to her first appearance on Arrow in Season 5 Episode 10, which was of course the mid-season premiere for Season 5. And of course she appeared in that episode, and we had a moment with her and Oliver when she was locked up in the cell in the Arrow base. And she was having a conversation with Oliver where she was talking about the fact that on Earth 2, which is of course where Black Siren is from, Oliver Queen is actually dead. He died on the Gambit, and his father survived, and he ended up becoming the Green Arrow on Earth 2. And we get to see a more softer side to her character there, where you could clearly tell that she did love, Oliver on Earth 2, and she clearly had a good relationship with him. But that is kind of thrown into a bit of ambiguity, because then afterwards she has a scene with Felicity where she basically bitch talks about Oliver, about the fact that he likes sisters, which maybe hints at the fact that he cheated on her on Earth 2, like of course he did on Earth 1. So that does throw some doubt into that storyline, but I think most of what Black Siren says in that conversation is true. I think maybe some elements of it though were maybe fabricated just to try and trick Oliver into, maybe feeling more sympathetic for her. And of course we also had the scene in that episode where Prometheus clearly is forcing Black Siren to work with him, because we get a scene where the two of them interact. And basically Prometheus grabs her by the throat and threatens to kill her if she doesn't do what he wants. So yeah, that pretty much shows that she essentially is only working with Prometheus in Season 5 just simply because of the fact that he's helped her escape twice, so she's kind of in his debt, so she has to work for him anyway. And then the next moment that we get that hints at the redemption of her character is obviously in episode 22 of Season 5, which was the penultimate episode. And there's a scene that she has with Lance when she's locking him up in a container of sorts to be shipped off to Lian Yu. And she has a conversation with him where she asks him if the cuffs that she puts on him are too tight. And she tells him that the whole situation of her, having to lock away someone who looks exactly like her dad, it's obviously very distressing to her. And we find out that she actually made a plea with Adrian Chase / Prometheus that he would not hurt Lance, which clearly shows this is like the first indication we get that Earth 2 Laurel clearly has a soft spot for Lance, and she clearly does care about him. I mean, the fact that she obviously bargained with Prometheus to keep him safe clearly shows that she has some sort of real connection with him, even though from what we find out in episode 9 of Season 6, we kind of get a bit more of an understanding as to why that's the case. But here we can clearly tell straight off the bat she cares about Lance, and she's not willing to see, Prometheus hurt him. And that's really the only moments we get in Season 5 that hint at her redemption. And then we really don't get anything else like that all the way until the Season 6 mid-season finale, of course, which was the episode that we just had on Thursday. And we of course have the moment where she essentially has once again captured Lance. This is a repeating habit here, where she has got him tied to a chair, and Lance tries to basically get more sense out of her, like trying to understand more about her. And he talks about if, when she looks at him, he reminds her of her father on her Earth, and we find out here that Lance on Earth 2 actually died on Laurel's 13th birthday when he went to go and get a birthday cake for her from Carly's, and he was essentially killed by a drunk driver who went through on a red light. And this is really the first moment where we see proper emotion from Black Siren, because she's literally on the verge of breaking down here because of, you know, her remembering what happened. And we basically find out that Laurel on this Earth actually did the same thing for Lance, so we clearly can tell that there's some sort of connection between there, even if it is over a freaking cake shop. But it clearly shows that there is a linking factor between the two, and like I said, you can clearly tell that Black Siren, as Quentin begins to talk more and more, she slowly starts to realize that they are actually, in a way, very similar people in terms of, you know, what they are, and they realize they really aren't that different. And this is really the moment where we start to really see Laurel have a soft spot for Earth 1 Lance, and then it all culminates in the scene in that same episode where she frees Lance. Kane James in that episode gives her the order to kill Lance, but nope, she actually lets Lance go. She goes up to his ear, says run, and cuts his, you know, the cuffs that he's got on his hands, and lets him go. So now we get into the second point of who or what is going to attribute to her redeeming herself in Season 6. And to me, like I've just pointed out, there's probably two storylines that are going to factor into this. The first one being the fact that obviously she let Lance go when Kane James clearly ordered her to kill him. I think when Kane finds out that Lance is still alive, I think that's going to create a lot of conflict between her and Kane James, because Kane James is probably going to believe that Black Siren simply isn't effective enough, because clearly she can be compromised if Lance shows up, and I think that will definitely cause some tension between her and the team, and that maybe could be one of the attributing factors for her turning to joining Team Arrow. That remains to be seen, but I would probably assume that because it's such a big moment, it would get brought up again in later episodes. The second part of her, you know, being redeemed is definitely Lance. I think he is going to be the main driving force between her turning from the villain team up to Team Arrow to become a more, I would say, anti-hero-like character. As we can clearly see from the episodes where she's interacted with Lance, she does care about him. She doesn't want to hurt him, because clearly she reminds him of her Earth 2 version, and I think Lance understands this as well, and I think is going to use this to his advantage to try and turn her into the side of good. I think he's definitely going to be the biggest input of that. We also maybe could see Oliver influence that as well, because from what Stephen Amell has talked about in interviews, Oliver still believes that Laurel can be redeemed. I just think we haven't really seen that yet this season, because him and Laurel have literally had no interactions whatsoever, which has very much disappointed me. But maybe Oliver could help redeem her as well. Like I said, that remains to be seen, because they haven't really interacted since the mid-season 5 premiere, so that remains to be seen, but maybe that could he could play a role in that as well. And then the final point here is, of course, when do I think Black Siren is going to be redeemed? And for me, if I had to put a guess on it, either in episode 18, because that's when all of the shows, I believe, go on a 4-week break, so maybe they could do that as kind of like a cliffhanger, or I could honestly see them dragging it out until the penultimate episode of Season 6, or even the finale, because maybe they just want to take their time with the storyline, and they want to, you know, progress with it at a normal pace. They don't want to rush it. So I would say it's either the episode 18 or the finale. Those would be my two suggestions as to when I think she is probably going to turn against the villain parlay and potentially join the side of good. Not necessarily Team Arrow. I don't think that's going to happen straight away, but becoming more of an anti-hero type of character, I think that will either happen at one of those 2 points in the season. So that is it for my video on the Black Siren redemption arc that we could potentially get in Arrow Season 6. Like I said, all this could be completely wrong, but judged on what we have had of Black Siren so far in Arrow Season 5 and Season 6, I think it's definitely hinting towards that direction that she will be redeemed, in my opinion. And I think it's what everybody wants. I want to see her get redeemed. I want to see a good storyline with Black Siren. And if they pull it off well, I think it could probably be one of the best parts of this season. So let me know what you think about this Black Siren redemption arc in the comment section down below. Do you want to see it just like me? And when do you think Black Siren will eventually turn against the villain parlay? Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video.